So the Youth Advisory Council was created in 2018 by then Mayor Pro Tempore Carol Matsumoto to elicit more youth input in the city government and just have more like young voices involved in the city. And ever since we were created, we kind of have had we've wanted to be more involved with the school district, or at least have some sort of relationship with it, because most of us, except for I think 2 right now, went to public school in South City. And the nature of the lives of young people is that you're at school all the time. So of course, we're gonna have a lot of opinions and things regarding education and our schooling and stuff. And so we've wanted, since the city council is gonna turn us into a youth commission, or at least they plan on doing that. We would like there to be some sort of relationship between the youth commission and between the school district. And then next slide, Dr. Moore. As I said, I can't see anything. We were created in 2018 by Carol Matsumoto as a pilot project. We're to advise the city council on issues. Currently, we have 19 members aging from 14 to 23. 2/3 of our membership are women of color. Currently, we accept members who either reside in the city of South San Francisco or who live within the confines of the school district. But if they live in the school district, they had to have gone to public school. For the high schools, we have a good mix of both El Camino and South City representation, and we have a few who've gone to community college, 2 who go to Berkeley, 1 to USF, 1 to SFSU, and 1 to Stanford, actually. So next slide. And so right now, the mayor and the city council, they've directed staff to look into creating a new youth commission out of the Youth Advisory Council. And currently, we're just figuring out everything. We're hashing it out with staff as what's going to happen, what the specifics are going to be. So a lot of the opinions that young people have, or at least politically or just within civically minded opinions, a lot of them have to do with school because we spend most of our lives at it. But since we would be a city commission, we would be hesitant to comment or recommend anything to the school district because we feel it would be kind of inappropriate, since we're a city commission and the school district is a separate entity. But we would like to explore the possibility of that. And we know that the school district wants more student voice, the city wants more youth voice, and we would like to help bridge the divide between the school district and the city. And so we've come up with a few possibilities as to what could happen. And it would mutually benefit everybody, I think. So next slide. And then Isabella, did you want to say anything?
I think it's pretty much covered, but also some of the most volunteer work and projects that we have done have been on school sites, whether it's voter registration or trying to get more volunteers for certain events. They have all been either at El Camino or South City. And so that's what makes our relationship so much more important, and figuring out what are the next steps for when we do become a commission.
All right, and then thank you.
Yeah, and then I can go over this first option. So currently we can become a commission, and then we can comment on the SSF Unified School District's affairs until the Board of Trustees decides to have their own student advisory board. And then we can meet with them and kind of discuss what we have on our own agendas. But then this wouldn't really change much as far as you guys would form your own advisory board, the school district. And then what would be good about it though is that we could have more cooperation, and the youth would be of the district and the city would be more in communication with each other. But then also a con is that we can't, as a commission, it wouldn't be appropriate for us to be more on the educational side of what goes on in the district.
And then the second option This is actually the Youth Advisory Council's preferred option. We kind of went over them, and the consensus was that this was the one we prefer, but we don't have the strongest, we prefer this one. So I actually think this is the more interesting option. So the City Council could allow the Board of Trustees to appoint members to the Youth Commission. So the district will have some say on the composition of the Youth Commission, but then the Youth Commission can make recommendations and then advise the Board of Trustees on educational or district matters. What would change is that the district would be able to appoint some members to the Youth Commission. So it would be a joint city and district commission. This is an example. We don't know the size of what the Youth Commission is going to be. So this is just my example. If the Youth Commission had 17 members, 10 could be appointed by the city and 5 by the school board, and then the remaining 2 could be the student trustees. But then again, the size of the Youth Commission is not in stone, and we don't know what it's going to be in the end. So the pros of this option is that the Youth Commission would be able to comment and suggest things to the school district, and the Youth Commission would have a secondary way for people to be appointed. So it wouldn't just be people who apply and then have to be interviewed by the City Council. It could be a teacher thinks their student would be great at it, and then they could recommend it to the superintendent, and then they could be appointed by the board. So it would bring more diverse voices to the Youth Commission, I think. The only con to this is that it would take a bit longer, I think, for the Youth Commission to actually be created, because then it would, instead of just city staff working on it, it would be city and the district having to work it out. And then next slide, thank you.
So the third option involves us as a youth commission just commenting and giving recommendations to the district, kind of like what we are doing right now. So it really wouldn't change much, and not that there's anything wrong at all with what we are doing right now, but also if we don't change or like think of other options, then we might not know what could come from a different type of relationship with the district. And yeah, so it's kind of just what's going on right now for option 3.
And then, so those were the 3 options that we came up with as a council. And I see those as like if there were to be some sort of relationship between the Youth Commission and the school district, it would probably be one of the 3. But as the Youth Advisory Council, we did prefer the second option, just because it gave us more, it gave everybody more options, I think. And I think it's the more interesting one. But yeah, that concludes our presentation. And if anyone has any questions, please ask us.
Thank you so much for that presentation. Trustee Murray, I see you've raised your hand.
I don't have any questions, but I wanted to thank you for the presentation. It was well thought out, and I appreciated it. I think that the second option is an interesting one, and I think that it could be mutually beneficial, and you know, I too would favor the second option.
I think also to add on, with our most recent application process to the Youth Advisory Council, we noticed that there wasn't as many applicants from South San Francisco. And so going with the second option would probably bring in more of those voices, because if you have teachers or commissioners like saying like, I really like this kid from South San Francisco or from Baden, and not just solely El Camino, we could really get a full representation of the district.
I love it. I mean, you're a youth commission, so it should include students from our schools. So it's a great idea.
I wanted to share, I've seen this, the 3 proposals before, and I have some reservations when it comes to a 17-member body. I serve on a state agency that has 27 members, and for the most part, it's dominated by 5 or 6 individuals. So I'm uncertain what we're actually accomplishing by carrying 17. There are staff-related costs, and some of that is directly related to the amount of people that are serving. So I'm a little bit reluctant to get excited about number 2.
Oh,
I think Ethan said that the number was just kind of arbitrary. He was just throwing it out there. Is that right, Ethan? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
yeah,
talk to you.
no, yeah, thank you. And I understand that reservation, Mayor Arriaga. That makes perfect sense. I'm on the Measure W sales tax for the Samtrans, and there's like 15 people, and it's a bit much. But I would just use that as an arbitrary like example number, because the number for the Youth Commission isn't set in stone yet, and we're still figuring that out. But I think we can still figure something out. But I just use that as a placeholder number. So
Okay.
example.
All right.
Sorry.
Dr. Moore, sorry, Vice Mayor Nogales. I saw Dr. Moore raise her hand and I wasn't
Oh,
sure.
no, Dr. Moore, please go ahead.
Thank you. I was just wondering, and Mr. Mizzi, you may have already addressed this, that was just an example. I was going to ask about if you could share the rationale and the thinking behind the recommendation for the city to appoint 10 and the board to appoint 5. Or was that you were just throwing it out as this is just one way to look at it? Or is that something that would be discussed further on that particular option?
Yeah, that was just one way to look at it with the numbers breaking down. Since if it still wants to be a city commission, then I think there could be more from the city than from the school district. But if they wanted it to be equal and they wanted it to just be a joint commission, then it could be equal. I'm not necessarily the decision maker. I was just giving options.
No, that makes perfect sense. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Moore.
Vice Mayor Nogales.
No, Dr. Moore actually took my question already. So, it was more about, the terms of the appointments, if in terms of the number, if we decided to go with option 2 or, have the option of having the school district appoint, what number would that be in terms of providing that number? Because I could see in terms of, a lot of our young leaders really interested in this. And, unfortunately, some will get denied if there's if the number is lower than 17. And, the number might be a little high, and I kind of understand that concern. But, the more opportunities, if it doesn't work through the city council, obviously maybe the opportunities through the school district gives them another avenue of participating. So I'm willing to kind of explore that option a little further and have a kind of a bigger discussion with my colleagues to see if that's something they're interested in doing.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Nogales. In my core, I certainly support any opportunity to elevate our youth and create leadership opportunities. So that's my core. And I also strongly support any opportunity that the school district and city can partner in healthy ways that benefits our youth. So that's my home base always. Option 2 does seem very interesting to me because city governance and school district governance are different, but there's often overlap, and this would facilitate some really interesting opportunities for our youth. So that part's exciting. I do want to honor that a 17-member board is large to manage. So that's the one piece where I would like to talk through just a little bit, but all in all, it's a very exciting opportunity. And I'm grateful to our Mr. Mizzi and Ms. Molina for both your work on this and for sharing this with us. It fills me with a lot of excitement.
Thank you. I did also want to say thank you for letting us present. That was very nice. Thank you to everyone, the mayor, vice mayor, President Lucon, and Trustee Murray.
Madam Chair, I had another question in terms, Ethan, or this might be a question for our staff is, I know for some of our commissioners, there is a small stipend, and I don't know if that was ever discussed, or is that something that the commission is looking into as well? Or, I mean, I think that might be obviously a council decision, but if, let's say, 2 members are appointed from the school board, how would that work? Would the school district provide a stipend for their 2 members, or will we have to provide? I mean, that's, I guess, a question we would have to figure out as well.
And I can say, this is Mike Futrell, we have discussed that internally. staff's thought was that, yes, they would get a stipend, they'd be treated like any other board or commission, they go through the same appointment process with terms of office. That does raise some concerns. If you have a 14-year-old on the commission, we have to work through that. And then if it is an appointment, as you stated, but to give it the full gravitas as a regular board and commission, we intended to layer on all the other rights, privileges, and responsibilities that any board might have. But that is, as you point out, a council decision and perhaps a school board decision.
Well, then that also brings up the subject of, like, 17 and we're paying a stipend, the budget kind of kicks in there for a second. So, so yeah, I think obviously having a further discussion about trying to narrow down the numbers, I think we should have as well.
I'll also chime in, staff has talked about that as well and agrees that that's too large a number for us to manage. There will have to be city staff assigned to this board. They'll have, the Brown Act will apply. We'll have to have agendas and minutes, and servicing 17 members is really beyond the capability. We can do it, just we would not recommend that.
I would also like to chime in here. At the last Youth Advisory Council meeting, we did actually, because initially a lot of our members were like, we want it as big as possible, et cetera, as many voices. But we did kind of, a lot of them did walk back. And I will say I was one of those people. We did kind of, we had a discussion and we think 17 is definitely a bit much. And we're willing to, obviously we can't make the decisions, but we would be happy to talk about lower numbers because it would make the commission much easier to run and to facilitate things. It was just the initial thinking with wanting a larger commission was to have as many voices as possible, especially since there's a diverse array of young people who live in the community who come from different socioeconomic backgrounds or with different ethnic backgrounds or different points of view. And we wanted to just make it as inclusive as possible, but we would be completely willing to talk about lower numbers. We don't have a hard line anywhere on numbers like that.
So in the case of all of our commissions, there's always an opportunity for other people to attend and participate, even though they might not be the selected members to serve on the commission. And you could certainly encourage people that are interested in eventually serving on the commission to show up to your meetings and participate in the discussions of the day. So there might be a way to blend both, but actually have, as far as voting members, a little smaller contingent.
Yeah.
To add on to what Ethan was saying about our discussion within our own meeting, some of the council members were saying that they could possibly also donate their stipends to organizations within South City that they care about, as it was something Sharon Reynolds brought up that some of the commissioners do for other commissions.
Thank you for that. Ms. Reynolds, I see your hand is up, and then also Dr. Moore.
Hello, hi, Sharon here. I just wanted to comment with respect to the current membership, the youth have self-selected. So they really ran the entire recruitment process. They distributed an application, they interviewed. We staff did just some very minor oversight just to make sure that the process was that there were no red flags and they weren't getting themselves in any trouble, basically. But they ran the process and selected the members themselves. And so with respect to the question of, is this a city representative or a school district representative, that could change depending on how the appointments were made. But I just wanted to make that point. And then I just thought I would put in a word as far as both Marie Patea and I and Ashley Crociani, who's our intern, have been staffing or attending the meetings, not really staffing them, but attending. And just kudos to this group of young people because the attendance has been phenomenal. They're almost all at every meeting and just a lot of very, I would say, sophisticated participation on the part of this group. And we're happy to work with the district. If it were a joint body, we could certainly co-staff it or work with you, whatever the policymakers would decide on that.
Thank you. Dr. Moore?
I think my comment probably makes sense as we see if this is something our school board is also interested in. I was going to ask about the application process, the criteria that was originally established to form the team, so that if we're going to do that, that we have a common or similar process to be able to identify and select participants. But I can wait on that. That's information we can get later.
Okay, well, thank you for the wonderful presentation. It sounds like we have some support, but it seems also that there are some next steps to explore, like looking at the application process and staff kind of exploring, and then also just both council and trustees kind of discussing, and then ideally we can get this in process and moving forward for the benefit of our youth. Okay, well, thank you. All right, our next item on the agenda is an update on workforce development program efforts.
Thank
All
you.
right, Mike, you want to kick it off?
I can kick it off. Mayor Diego, Vice Mayor Nogales, President Yuan, and Trustee Murray, thank you for having me. I'm here with Nell Sealander and Ernesto Lucero. We're all from the City of South San Francisco in the Economic and Community Development Department. And my purpose here today is just to update you on a program that the City Council authorized us to do. It was back in February, and our work actually in cooperation with the school district. So let me start off by saying that back in 2018, in the early stages of COVID, Eliza Normandy, former board member and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, introduced us to Principal Redmond from the Baden School. And we were looking at, and we were discussing basic career pathways and how to sort of look at identifying particular careers and other things like that that we could apply to help the school district with in serving a number of students. He had recognized that there were a number of former students that were sort of stuck in a rut. They were in jobs that were going nowhere. A lot of them were just underemployed. And so we were looking, the idea was look for certification programs, pre-apprenticeship programs for people that would do that. At the same time, we were recognizing that with COVID, what we thought was a very strong economy in our city was actually bifurcated into two different economies. One is the high tech and biotech employees that we have, and they're doing well. But the other significant portion is, again, the recently unemployed and the people who don't have college degrees, who have limited skills, and they're basically just getting by in the retail sector or in other sectors. And so I'll give you some numbers. In April of 2020, our unemployment rate rose to over 14%. So that was a significant bump from a 3% unemployment rate the previous December. Our unemployment rate has gone down to about, and it's sort of plateau, it's over around 7%, which is way above our historic average. And then South San Francisco is has the third highest unemployment rate consistently since COVID began. This is pretty significant. So we had to start doing some research on what is out there and what can we do. There are a number of service providers out there who provide for workforce development. NOVA is one of them through the WIB. But we found that our residential population doesn't take advantage of that. So for example, NOVA has services, but during COVID, only 22 people from South San Francisco participated in a NOVA program. That's unacceptable. So we were looking at doing a few things. One is what is the future of jobs? And if you read the research, the World Economic Forum, the Rand Corporation, UCLA, others, they're basically saying that the majority of people in the current workforce needs skills upgrades. Conversely, existing companies need staff that have those skills upgrades. So there is a skills gap that's developing in this decade, as not as a result of COVID alone, but it's just happening due to new technologies such as AI, due to new types of technologies in what we consider traditionally low skill areas like warehouse and transportation. And so this is sort of what brought us to this point. So with the City Council, I presented a proposal to look at doing a workforce development partnership with the school district and with other partners to basically enact what we would call a very aggressive, proactive, case management oriented approach to skills development and workforce development. One, we would look at an immediate need for the underemployed and the unemployed, especially people in sort of our census tracts with low income, very significant low income populations, to get them into jobs as soon as possible, to stabilize their lives so that, you know, they could pay rent, they could buy food. That's the first goal. And we would use a contractor to help us do that. The long-term goal would be to set up long-term programs that would look at career development more significantly. Not everybody needs to go to college, but everybody needs skills development. So for example, what we're learning is in warehousing, warehouse development, you need to have some experience with AI. You need to know data management. You need to know computer. You need to know certain things that previously you didn't have to know. So those are skills that we're seeing that will be needed in the future. After council gave us an approval, we sent out an RFQ to a number of service providers. We have also met with other agencies throughout the Bay Area, such as West Oakland Jobs Resource Center, who do pretty much the same thing. And it came down to looking at a company down south in the southern part of our county, Job Train. They're working out of East Palo Alto right now and down in Santa Clara County. They do a very case management oriented type of development. Also, they provide services that would stabilize somebody's lifestyle. That would be something we would look at with our entrepreneurial center, which is the other piece. So we would have something downtown, a facility downtown that we call the entrepreneurial center that would do incubation, business planning, and job training, as well as some other services. But the other portion of it is that we need to also look at classroom space. And that's where the school district comes back in. And our discussions with Principal Redmond have been sort of along those ways. There needs to be sort of a space that provides for certification training, pre-apprenticeship training, other things such as that. We also are working with the school district to go out for grants and loans. So we have applied for a workforce development loan with the school district as a partner to look at pre-apprenticeship training. So we put in the application to the state for that. We're hoping to hear by July. And that's about $150,000 that we probably would use for training and for administrating a new program. Now, I've only talked about the initial. Now we talk about later on in our program, we have another couple phases where we look at long-term strategies. And the long-term strategy is take somebody who graduated from South San Francisco High School or somebody from Baden School and get them into a career track. They could get into a career track and eventually they go to Skyline and get an AA, or it's basically just try to do that. And the ultimate goal is to stabilize that particular population and provide the services that we can. The reason why we're going with a more aggressive approach is that We have traditional infrastructure in this county, and they do provide services, but again, don't provide that case management that we need. We are looking at job training to lead us through this, to do all the heavy lifting. And that's sort of where we are. So we're negotiating a contract with job training. We're also negotiating a contract with Renaissance to provide the business portion of our entrepreneurial center. And we're hoping to get to the city council by the end of April with a proposed budget and contracts. But I'll leave it up to questions at this point, and thank you very much.
Thank you for that very interesting information, very comprehensive. It was very exciting updates. Questions?
I will say under this agenda item, there is a part 2 from the HR department. If you'd like to hear that now, or take questions on the part from Economic and Community Development.
My teacher wait time did not yield any questions, so maybe we jump into the HR component and we'll see if we get questions at that point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board Trustees, and staff. Thank you very much for giving me a little bit of your time today. I am here to present on a summer jobs program that we are planning for the youth in our community. And if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and just go through a couple of slides and show you what we have planned and where we would like some assistance. Oops. No, that's not the right screen. Okay, let me try that again. Sorry about that. Screen 2. Okay, and I also wanted to welcome, I have here Jennifer Salerno. She is from the Urban Services YMCA in San Francisco, but she's also a South San Francisco native. She runs summer work and development programs in San Francisco and has joined up with our team to further develop this program that we are planning to pilot this summer. And if any of you were on this committee or in these positions last year around this time, you might recall that we had planned to do a summer jobs program and involve our local business community. Obviously, COVID kind of put a wrench in those plans. And so we are now at the point where we feel that we really do want to move forward with these opportunities for our youth. But we are looking at hosting this program internally within the city this year, as opposed to bringing in our external business community, understanding that they are still recovering from this past year, and just looking to pilot the concept of the program first internally, get a proof of concept, and then in future years expand it to our local business community. So just briefly on this slide, I know you are likely familiar with the Neighborhood Action Plan that was developed by the Community Collaboration for Children's Success. And just to orient where we are targeting this program, it's these two strategies that we're really looking to address, both after or summer programs for our youth, to provide enrichment, as well as expanding living wage job opportunities. So really reaching the youth in our community, the students in our community who want to start working, but perhaps do not have the resources or the guidance or opportunities that maybe some other youth do have, that we are really taking a hands-on approach to guiding them through the employment process and getting them involved in some real work experience. So some of the nuts and bolts in terms of what we have planned here. We are looking to run this program from June 14th through July 30th. That does include an orientation week as well as 6 weeks of employment. And we are looking to really start identifying students who are interested in participating by mid-April. So at this point in the game, I'm working with my colleague here to finalize plans for the actual internships within the city. So those are going to be kind of flexible depending on what our students' interests are, but I am very hopeful that we will have most, if not all, of our departments participating in this program. We are looking to do 15 students to start with. I think that would be a great success to have 15 placements and 15 students. If there's more, we could probably accommodate a couple of more, but probably not much bigger than that at this point in time. In terms of what students will be doing in this program, it will vary. It'll vary by their abilities, their interests, but it will all be, of course, entry level and youth appropriate work. So it may be some shadowing, it may be some assistance, light assistance with projects, light clerical work. The idea is just to get a feel for the workplace and the type of work we do here as a city, introduce them to different types of careers that they might be interested in moving forward. We are going to offer some ability to do remote placements or hybrid placements. We will want them on site for a certain amount of time, but understanding that COVID is a reality still, and there may be other concerns at play. We will, we're all now in this remote world where we are able to do work off-site at times. So as I mentioned, there will be a week-long orientation, and that will be led by Jennifer Salerno and her staff. Really, this is just to, kind of cover all of the nuts and bolts of employment, do some developmental training work, but, it'll be everything from onboarding. So what is this tax form and what am I supposed to do with it? Kind of guiding them through that process. I know my first job, which was actually with the YMCA, I got handed a stack of paper and I took it home to my dad and I said, help me with this, because, we don't always know where to start. So we're hoping to be there for those students to help them through that process. And then throughout the program, we'll have one-on-one check-ins with students and supervisors. So we do have a couple of staff who will be not only running the training programs, but meeting weekly with students, checking in on how things are going. We'll also be training our supervisors. Some already, like in parks and library, already work with youth very frequently, but others do not. So we're going to be doing some support for them on how best to guide students through this program. A little bit more in terms of the types of students that we would like to reach out to for this program. We would like current students ages 15 to 18 or those who are graduating this year, and they need to be residing or attending school in South San Francisco. They do need to be eligible to work. This is a paid internship. They will receive the minimum wage, and they do need to obtain a work permit if they're currently in school. So I understand that that will, be a barrier for some students in terms of being eligible to work. We will look at, are there opportunities for them to attend training or do volunteer service? Certainly, we don't want to exclude them from the developmental experience of this program, but in terms of employment, those are the restrictions we are bound to. And then we don't have an income or any kind of set criteria in terms of students in need, but we are looking to have some contacts with the school district to help us identify those students who could really benefit from the additional guidance and support. And that could be for a range of reasons. And I'll have Jennifer talk a little bit more about the curriculum and how we're approaching that. But really, those who may not know their way to a job application or maybe, have some challenges in terms of how do they get connected with employers. And of course, they will need to be able to commit to the full length of the program. So I am going to turn it over to Jennifer, our consultant from Urban Services YMCA, just to go through this slide to talk about the approach that is used in her current program that we hope to bring to this program.
Thanks, Leah. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having us here today. Really excited to talk about this program. As Leah mentioned, I'm a South San Francisco native, graduated from El Camino High School. And I'm also a first generation high school and college student. And I had to work full time as soon as I graduated from high school. And I did not know where to start. And I had a significant number of barriers. And it's really my own personal experience that's galvanized me and has contributed to my desire to help young people who want to work but don't necessarily know where to start and may have significant barriers to employment. And through my own personal experience and working directly with the community at Urban Services YMCA, the branch of the YMCA in San Francisco that does all the social services that a lot of folks haven't heard of, that's really contributed to the way that I've designed what really is a wraparound and holistic curriculum for young people to figure out not just the nuts and bolts of working, like the soft skills development training, but also the social emotional components that are often overlooked by other workforce development programs. So, we really focus on helping young people secure and retain. Retain is the big one, right? Meaningful employment, meet their education goals, and improve the use of available income, and also access emergency assistance. We believe in, again, holistic wraparound support that often extends beyond the young person to the entire family. And we really focus on stability. So we also work to lift youth voices, address those barriers to employment. Those of us who work in workforce development know that it's so much more than just helping young people obtain jobs. We really want to help lift youth and their families out of generational poverty. We want to provide that job readiness training where, as I mentioned, you learn not just these essential workplace skills such as time management and organization, and now with our COVID world, right, what it's like to work remotely, what are the expectations of working remote, but also things like financial literacy, email etiquette, trauma-informed self-care, and again, social emotional communication skills. Those are all key things. And then, cultural humility is huge. This process of communal reflection that analyzes the root cause of suffering with the intention of creating a broader, more inclusive view of the world. These are the primary components that inform the 200+ page curriculum that I developed when I first came to Urban Services. That's the Director of Youth Workforce Development. That has all subsequently been converted to a Google Classroom platform, right? We had to pivot really quickly when COVID happened. So we are prepared to teach virtually. I don't know if, I can't remember if there's another, that might be it for me, Leah. I can't remember.
Thank you very much.
Perfect.
Appreciate it. So, and one thing I forgot to mention at the beginning, the names South SSF Suite, Summer Work Experience, Empowerment and Training. That was actually, we met with our Youth Advisory Committee last year and they helped us come up with that name. So we are sticking with it and we like it. So hopefully it's easy to remember. And then I just wanted to kind of put it out there in terms of, what support we would like from the school district and from our individual high schools is, once we're ready to start our outreach process, kind of help us identify those students, refer them to us, encourage them to apply. And we will, certainly have that laid out for them in a way that's easy to do. And then secondly, any opportunity, or if this group or if there are others that your colleagues, if they have thoughts or ideas that could assist us with designing the program and the curriculum, as well as the needs of the students, things that we might not have thought of that the student population may need. I know one of the things on my mind that we haven't addressed yet is transportation. And if a student's struggling with transportation, what options can we provide to them? Can we provide, a transportation, a bus voucher or something like that? Can we do a shuttle between city sites, those are all things that we'll look at. And then secondly, just virtual learning. I know all the students have been through a year of school now and done virtual learning. But with school out, I don't know if there are going to be those who, maybe they had a loaner laptop that they were using and now are without that type of technology that they can use. So those are the kinds of things that, the logistical things that we want to make sure that we address for our student population. So any questions or feedback, we would love to hear from this group, and we are listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Vice Mayor Nogales, I see your hand is raised.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Leah, I might have asked this before. I'm so glad we're doing this. I understood why we had to put pause on this because of COVID and for budget issues, but I'm glad we're bringing it up. How do we measure success, in terms of the program? Because that's something that I want to be able to point to and say, it's not just the job skills that's important too, but there's other, I think, data points that we can track. And so I would love to hear, how do we measure success on this?
Oh, that's a great question. Last year we were working with a team of volunteers to develop this, and we had one team working on particularly on evaluation and how do we evaluate the pilot program. So I'm looking to utilize some of those recommendations. Ultimately where we're going to want the feedback from, obviously the students and the supervisors, but what we would also like to do is hopefully contact those students 3 months, down the line, maybe even further, to get some retrospective look at how this program has benefited them. And really we're looking, going back to the primary objectives, increase in confidence in their ability to look for jobs, apply for jobs, interest in future employment. Do they have future employment? Can we, if we go far enough out, if they're not still in school, or maybe they do have another job, and how has this program prepared them? So really and that's very broad, and we're still developing the whole program as well as the evaluation for it. But that's sort of the structure of getting the evaluation done.
Great. And then the other question I had was eligibility for the students. And, it sounded like some students might not be eligible depending on, I guess, a few things. And I want to be able to open this up as many students as possible, but I understand, I guess, there might be some eligibility issues. I'm hoping we can somehow work around that to ensure that, we don't exclude individuals who could really benefit from this. And so, if we can have a broader conversation on that on the staff level to see what we can do. And I understand what the concerns are and what limitations we have, but if we can somehow work on that, I would hate to have a student who would be great for a program, but because of certain eligibility issues, they weren't able to participate. And that would be more heartbreaking to that student, knowing that they had this opportunity and they weren't able to participate.
Yeah, absolutely. That is something that I think, we'll spend some time thinking through. Are there, again, things that they can do as volunteers? Certainly the training component, we could open that up. But yeah, we'll need to work around the confines that we have. So.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Sorry, Mayor Adiego, I apologize. I was muted and having a conversation with myself. I see your hand
I
raised.
saw your lips moving, and I thought I was reading them correctly. So thank you, President Lujan. Yeah, I'm thinking back to what Mike Lappin said about a bifurcated economy, indeed a bifurcated society, and the one maybe a silver lining to this scourge of a pandemic over the last year is it allows us to really focus in a big way on the weakness in our economy. And actually, if you've lived in South San Francisco, this is not something that's new. When I first left government in 1989, South San Francisco economically was not in such a great place, but within a couple of years, the biotech industry was taking off. And by the time, I think I was 15 years away in a larger city to the north that shares our name. And when I came back to South San Francisco, some 15 years later, to get involved again, I was disappointed to see that for most people in South San Francisco, we were exactly where I had left off. That those great changes in the east of 101 didn't translate to any difference in the lives of the majority of South San Franciscans. Well, now we've had this pandemic. We recognize that we're going to have to do some heavy lifting to help people out from the grind of what has occurred as far as lost jobs and opportunities and lost hope. And monies are available. We are able to entertain these programs because monies are available through the $1.9 trillion. And it's time to put those monies to work for South San Franciscans. And so through all of this, I find this to be the excitement of the moment, that there really is an opportunity where we can, attempt to change people's, the trajectory of their lives. And I'm hopeful we can do it with the help of the schools.
Thank you, Mayor Adiego. Trustee Murray, I saw your hand pop up and then it went down, so I wasn't sure if you had thoughts.
Okay, it did go down. I think both programs both presentations were very exciting. With regards to the SSF suite, would the school district be completely responsible for recruiting children or students for the program? Or are you going to go into the community and you want would we know how many kids you want to get from our district or?
Yeah, so we're looking for 15. We will do some of our own outreach, obviously, with the programs that we have and the access that we have. We would like to, for those people who are close to the students that work with them, if there are counselors or teachers who would be willing to identify some students that they could, reach out to, that would be ideal in terms of a recruitment and referral as well.
If you received,
but not entirely on the school district, yes.
If you received 30 applicants, would you interview them, or how would you make the decision as to who would participate? Which 15 kids?
Yeah,
So we would have, go ahead, Jen.
Oh, that's okay. I was gonna say, typically what happens is my staff, an interest form will be generated or referral will be generated depending on how we set it up. We also have capacity to come and do presentations, not physically, unfortunately, but virtually, if that works for certain schools. And, our intention is to interview, hopefully, each person who applies, knowing that the limit, unfortunately, is between 15 and 20. And we still need to determine which ones we'll pick. I think in some instances it will be predicated on the kind of jobs that we have, because we really want to, as best as we can, and Leah, correct me if I'm wrong, we want to try to connect the young people to an internship that coincides with their interests. And so that might be a really big determining factor in placement.
So my thought is, if we were choosing students that we felt would most benefit for this program, I would hate for us to refer them and to have them let down like that. Would they still be able to, possibly, Ms. Lockhart was talking about the kids would have volunteer possibilities and they would have access to the training. Would those students still be able to have access to the training? And
yeah, I think potentially we could continue to expand that training to include, additional students, or at least, portions of the training. And you know, we do have other jobs in the city that maybe aren't part of this program, but jobs that happen in the summer that we could fold those into the program as well.
Yeah, and my staff and I are really tapped into paid internships, most of which I hope are going to happen this summer. And so if we're not able to take them in the SWEET program, we have a lot of resources at our disposal, not just in San Francisco, but on the peninsula as well, where we could potentially plug young people in.
Thank you. That's very exciting.
Thank you, Trustee Murray. Many of my questions had to do with the recruitment component, because for me, it's very exciting and it fills me with hope. I think it's a really great opportunity to open up doors for students and possibilities and visions for the future. I think part of having hope for the future is getting out there and getting experience and becoming aware of opportunities. So I think this is really exciting. I was more worried about the limitations, but you just spoke to that, because I was worried about being limited to 15 students, and then do we do targeted outreach or general outreach? And so a lot of that has been addressed. And so for me, I would just really like to partner and support the outreach. So that way we have engaged students, and those, you know, if we have more applicants than can fill the 15 spots and we end up with 30, which would be great, or more, it is reassuring to hear that there could be other opportunities, whether it is just access to the curriculum, the training component, or whether it's through a different internship opportunity.
Yeah, in my experience, starting small when you're launching a program is really the way to do it. Doing it intentionally, you know, on a pilot basis with a small group of folks is kind of the best way to work out the kinks. And then from there, you know, hopefully there'll be opportunity to expand and grow. I think that's the hope, right, Leah?
Yeah. Yeah. So the idea, if we have a successful pilot, we could also branch out to our local employers and have placements and with them and partner with them. Those were discussions that were underway last year before COVID happened. So it would be a much more broader based program. And of course, we would need to augment our staffing to be able to coordinate that. But it's much easier to get other businesses involved if there is a proof of concept and we've run a successful pilot internally. So yeah, it is my hope that we would grow this program to the extent that capacity allows.
And that was actually my wondering, was how scalable the program is, but it sounds like it is very much so scalable. So wonderful. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, Mayor Diego, I did see your hand pop up. I'm not sure if it's a new hand or if it was.
No, it's a new hand. It's a fresh hand. Here's awesome. The real thing. Yeah. So real quick, I'll make this quick because I'm kind of playing off of Trustee Murray's comments. I thought I knew where she was going. So when we're talking about selecting participants, recruitment for this program, I can't imagine a program that doesn't take into account who knows the needs of the young people, who knows the nature of those young people best, and which of those young people might benefit the most. Very simply, the answer is their teachers. So I can't imagine a program that doesn't rely heavily on the teachers to help at least do the initial, draw of which students might benefit, and then maybe have individuals interview them for the specific job. But we certainly, if we want to reach the right people, we need the school's help.
Thank you.
I'm going to lower my hand now.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate the presentation, and it does sound like there's interest in partnering, being thoughtful in the recruitment process and working together to help make this a success. Okay.
Thank you very much for your time, and we'll be in touch.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. It seems that our next topic this afternoon is update on city childcare programs and COVID-related challenges.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Laura Armanino. I'm the Recreation and Community Services Supervisor for the Child Care Division. And I'm here to give you an update on our child care program, some of the ongoing challenges and things that are happening on the horizon for us. We are excited to know that we were able to expand our program at Los Cerritos campus, and we also received a Learning Hub expansion grant as well to help with the expenses of adding another classroom at Los Cerritos. Our Spruce campus, the Community Learning Center Homework Club was also able to add a couple classrooms as well. It's wonderful that we're able to work with our school site principals to identify the students who are most in need, so we can help reduce the absences and help them with their online virtual learning that they're struggling with in the home environment. And so at Los Cerritos, we were able to add 11 children, and I believe the homework club over at Community Learning Center has a total of 4 classrooms that they're now operating. And so that is great news. Other great news is 98% of our childcare staff who wanted to get vaccinated are vaccinated. We would be at 100%, but one of our staff just recently got her TB test. And so there's a waiting period between when you get your TB test and when you're allowed to get vaccinated. Otherwise, we would be at 100%. So down the road, we will be 100% vaccinated. This week has been a little bit of a challenge. A lot of our staff got their second shot. I was one of them last week, and that second shot kind of knocked me through a loop, and a lot of our staff were out sick. So there was a lot of juggling of staff schedules this week to make sure we were covered. But we kind of had that idea in our head and took a look and planned and had a lot of staff on hand standby, so that way we could cover it. Some of the challenges, ongoing ones, again, Wi-Fi, we all know that. We all know the infrastructure is needing improvement, but luckily our coordinators are really great. Our principals are really great about allowing us to go in the Exploratorium at our Monteverde campus, which is our most challenged Wi-Fi campus. And so Principal Mert has been very gracious in allowing our students to use the Exploratorium during their virtual learning time. So that way we can have access to Wi-Fi, since we don't quite have enough bandwidth to have all the kids on Zoom with their teachers in our portable number 2. The other challenge that we're working on is finding out if the guidelines are going to change regarding cohort mixing. Current guidelines say children have to stay in their cohorts. They're not allowed to mix with other cohorts. And I know we're looking to open up our campuses on April 19th. And so I continue to reach out to the state and to other agencies to find out if those guidelines are going to be flexible, to see if we can have some of our students who have signed up for that extra program, or if they're going to be able to attend it. Under the advice of Mr. Irish, we decided to have our parents go ahead and sign up for it. And that way they could always decline if the guidelines are not going to change. Rather than if the guidelines changed and they didn't sign up for it, there wouldn't be an opportunity for them to join if they didn't already had signed up. So that was, thank you to Mr. Irish. That was our recommendation to our families, that if they weren't sure, just sign up, and you could always decline if the guidelines don't change. On the horizon for us in childcare, we are in the renewal process of our ACES grant. And so I'll be reaching out to get some information and some letters from our district for that, since we are our partner in that grant. Our summer camp lottery registration starts on April 6th. And so we are busy making our copies and getting our mailings ready for that, and reaching out to our families. We are also reaching out to our seasonal staff. It was great to hear about the SWEET program. We've kind of been doing our small version of the SWEET program for many, many years now. Dana could attest, our trustee president, Lujan could attest. She was one of our staff on our team program that gets our kids ready to come back and work for us. I believe 2019 was our largest group of aides that we had working for us. And I would say probably about 90% of them were from our district. But every year we have our group of kids who graduate out of our team program and come back and work for us. We're also very involved in capstone projects, in internships in our rec department, and also reaching out to our community colleges and doing child observation classes with their students in our program as well. And so summer camp's starting to roll out, and we'll be getting that information on our website when we return from spring break. The other thing that is rolling out is our after-school registration process. That was supposed to start April 1st, but we have delayed it as we didn't want to have concurrent enrollments with summer camp and after school. And that is something that we look forward to partnering with the district to find out what the fall is going to look like, which we don't know obviously yet, what our guidelines are going to look like. So that way we'll be able to know how many families we're going to be able to enroll come fall and what kind of program we're going to offer. So chances when we start opening that enrollment in late April, families will be put on standby or waitlisted until we know what the fall is going to look like and what our capacity is going to look like in the fall. The other thing that's on the horizon that we've been getting a lot of information about this week, I just got an email this morning, and another opportunity for us to partner with our district is Assembly Bill 86 and the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. So we're looking to see if there's ways we can partner with our district with our expanded learning programs to see how we can help serve more families, more children, and kind of come up with different creative ideas to see how many kids we can serve. That is my update for childcare, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Armanino, for the update. Vice Mayor Nogales.
Laura, nice to see you. Quick couple questions. Summer camp, you said April 6th. And I'm assuming we're going to do a lottery system again for that. Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah, currently the way we're going to be tiering it is our currently enrolled students, and then our students who would be enrolled if it wasn't for COVID will have their priority prior to we open to the public, and it'll be by lottery in those different stages, so that way it's equitable for our families.
Which kind of leads me to my next question about after school. I know how popular after school program is, being that I have a child enrolled in an after school program. And I wonder how it's going to be where there were kids enrolled, and will they still have priority in there? Because obviously there were kids who wanted to enroll, but because of COVID, they weren't able to. And so where kind of that split in terms of kids who were on it and then parents who want to enroll their kids but weren't able to because of COVID, how is that going to work out?
It's going to be the same priority that we're doing for summer camp. Our currently enrolled children will have that first, chance to re-enroll, and then those families that we call on standby will have the chance, and then again our public registration. And so because we don't know what the fall is going to look like, the district's not sure what the fall is going to look like, and so we really want to partner and be part of that conversation, so that way as that's being developed, we can definitely take a look and see how that changes our program. If it's going to be back to normal, where we have, just the after school portion at the regular time, that's fabulous. But if it's going to be different based on COVID, then we're going to need to take a look and redesign our program as well. And so, we want to serve as many kids as possible. That's safe to do so.
And then Laura, maybe you and I can talk about, you mentioned that Monteverdi is having some Wi-Fi and some internet issues in terms of.
Yeah, the infrastructure up there is one of the things the school district is very much aware of. And it is, they've done everything they can. It's just, there's the next step of, I think, pulling everything out and putting new stuff up there to get it going. I don't know if Mr. Irish can speak more to what it is, but they're very much aware of it. And we've worked out a solution of having the kids go to the Exploratorium, which is working fabulous. And so I don't think it's anything that's going to be fixed this year because it is a bigger issue. And there's budget concerns on the district, I'm sure, of upgrading Wi-Fi at all of their campuses, not just Monteverdi. So I think Monteverdi is just one small part of the bigger Wi-Fi puzzle that the district's addressing, but we've got it worked out with Principal Mert. And so, it's an ongoing challenge, but it's one that we've already have our workaround and it's working great. So
great. Thank you.
Mr. Irish, I saw your hand up, and then Dr. Moore, I also see your hand is up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Keith Irish, Assistant Superintendent Ed Services for South San Francisco Unified School District. Laura's correct. The Board of Trustees last year in March, actually before we went into shelter in place, it started in motion to do an infrastructure upgrade at all 16 of our sites. So right now by the summer, we'll be done with 7 of our sites. I will go back and check to see where Monteverde is on the order. I do not have that readily available, but we anticipate to have all of our sites a complete technology upgrade, infrastructure upgrade throughout the district. We're guesstimating, we're trying to work with our vendor. They are trying to get third-party folks to try to help expedite this, but it's about a 1.5 to 2 year project. We're trying to expedite this. Obviously, you know, Laura made due to COVID, due to where we are with distance learning. So we're trying to fast track it, but yes, we're aware. And Laura and I are going to continue to partner and meet as information becomes readily available regarding next year for 2021. Once we get information from the California Department of Ed and our local county, because we want to work together on providing as many, you know, possible after school or any sort of childcare support programs we can. We can partner with the city. So I just want to say on behalf of the district, thank you so much. Laura and I are going to continue to work together to make this happen. So unless there's questions, I will mute myself.
Thank you, Mr. Irish. I think President Lindholm is going to unmute and defer to me, so I'll just jump in. And what I will say to what Mr. Irish said is, barring any unforeseen circumstances, that, you know, our goal is to expedite it, but we all know as we start digging in, we might find some things that we didn't anticipate. The other thing I just wanted to share that Laura said is, I have also been advocating on our side to find out how we can align what the guidance is for TK-12 and versus the guidance for pre-K, because, and what I'm told is that they are working on aligning it at the state. That's the direction that we're moving in. What I can't tell you that they don't know is when that's actually going to happen. So at least we know that we've expressed enough of a need to align them, because what it does is unintentionally prevent students from being able to get additional support from their teachers, which we don't want to do. So hopefully we'll hear something soon. I know every time I have an opportunity, I'm reaching out to advocate to align the standards across the board so that we don't have a situation where some kids are able to have access, but some kids can't because of regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. I'm not seeing any other hands pop up. So I just want to thank you, Laura, for the update, and thank you for your partnership to support the youth of South San Francisco, especially as we have navigated a very unusual school year.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our next item this afternoon is discussion on childcare MOU and renewal for the 21-22 school year.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Greg Midiotti, Deputy Director of Parks and Rec. I'll give you a brief summary of where we are today on our childcare master plan. I think, as all of you are familiar with, in 2016, the district and the city entered into an MOU to define the relationship between our childcare programs located on school sites and the district's operations. Those include our before and after school program, which serves approximately 500 students pre-COVID, of course. Our ACES funded REAL program, which serves about 200 students in Title I schools at no cost. So those are Community Learning Center, Los Cerritos, and Martin, and our summer camp program, which serves a little bit north of 100 children each summer, which we typically serve at Ponderosa School. So in total, I think we serve over 500 families with our summer camp programs. And the real purpose of the MOU was several-fold. First, to memorialize our program operating hours, to align the city program and district school year calendar, to specify and memorialize classrooms, bathrooms, outdoor spaces, and campus access to city childcare program providers, to clarify the provision of keys and alarm codes, document contributions required under our ACES grant, for which the city serves as the lead agency, identify our summer camp sites, outline custodial responsibilities of each agency, condition that the city and district approve use or the city obtain district approval for use of school sites during non-school days. Extend the city the first right of refusal for expansion of programs at sites for which the city already offers programs. Provides a timeline and approval process for new or expanded programs, and requires an annual meeting to evaluate this relationship, which was held this February at February 26th. So this current MOU is the second amendment to the original 2016 document, and it expires at the end of the city fiscal year, which is June 31st. In understanding the many constraints that COVID presents, and all that goes along with that, the city was proposing a one-year extension of the current agreement, and currently we are sort of negotiating with district staff, and we plan to meet again next week. So we're meeting on the 30th to look at some minor tweaks or adjustments to that MOU. So I just want to close by noting that staff appreciates the past and ongoing commitment from the district, the Board of Trustees and City Council in sharing the shared population of South San Francisco children, and we hope to continue it for years to come. So attached to the report is the current MOU as well as the JPA, which is sort of the master document. And if you all have questions, I have Laura Armanino, Kelly Jo Cullinan, and Angela and Sharon as well, and Kim Morrison.
Thank you for the update. Do we have questions at this time? Okay. I am not seeing any questions, and it does sound like conversations are ongoing at this time. So I just want to, I would like to thank staff on both sides for coming together to talk things through. I think it's really important that we do talk things through, because our youth and our community benefit when we work together for their it's mutually beneficial for everyone. So I just want to thank you for your efforts to come together and talk through everything. Okay, so I believe this brings us to update on recreation programs and partnerships with SSFUSD, including middle school sports programming, youth art show, and other recreation and joint initiatives.
I'll start that one. Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, School Board Trustees, and my colleagues at the school district and on the city side. My name is Angela Duldulau. I'm the manager for the Recreation Division of the Parks and Recreation Department. And, you know, I didn't really think too hard that this would be carrying on with the theme of collaboration, but that is where I am starting my presentation this afternoon. I know you all are very familiar, and it's commonly brought up, our collaboration with the child care program, but I also wanted to represent other efforts on the recreation side in which we partner. And so just for your background knowledge, the Recreation Division is made up of 7 program areas that includes aquatics, classes, cultural arts, childcare, senior services, sports, and our rentals program. And I want to thank Mike Mulcairns, who is our rentals and sports supervisor, for joining me on this presentation. I'm going to hand it to him for the second half. But one of the first initiatives I wanted to highlight to all of you is our partnership with our cultural arts program. And one of those programs is actually going on right now. It's our youth art show. So typically, this really is, I think, mostly driven by the school district's visual arts committee. Our cultural arts specialist, Ursi Santos, has had a really great working relationship with Lottie Kawada on the district side to organize this event. And I really compliment all of the teachers and everyone involved in producing over 500 pieces of art that gets displayed at our municipal services building. And typically, for anyone who might not be familiar, on the city side, we host the reception for the event and also bring some performing artists, young performing artists, to bring some liveliness to the event through the weekend. So unfortunately, as is the theme, this year we were unable to offer an in-person event, but we are carrying on with this as a virtual art show. And so if anyone is interested in this, you can check us out at www.ssf.net/cultural arts. The deadline is April 9th, and the theme of art this year is Earth Day. So hopefully we'll kick off that art show just in time to celebrate Earth Day. And then the other cultural arts initiative, which it's my understanding, I think someone had mentioned this at the school board's meeting last night, is our Jack Drago Cultural Arts Youth Scholarship for school district graduating high school seniors who plan to continue the study of art. So those scholarships, it will be a total amount granted up to $3,000. And I think the Cultural Arts Commission will just kind of see who applies and determine the award amount. But that is another initiative that we're really happy that we're able to continue through COVID, although both are kind of taking place under kind of different terms. So now I want to hand this over to Mike Mulkerins, who is just such a central point, I think, to making sure we don't crash into each other in our different programming efforts for facility usage and that kind of thing. So Mike, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Angela. Good afternoon, everyone. As Angela mentioned, I'm the recreation supervisor in charge of sports, picnics, and facility rentals. I'm here to give you an update on our recreation program and partnerships with the district. First, we're going to talk about middle school sports. So the city of South San Francisco is a member of the Northern California Recreation League, which is better known as the NCRL. Other cities that are part of the NCRL include Burlingame, Millbrae, San Bruno, Pacifica, Brisbane, and Hillsborough. The sports which we offer our students in South San Francisco are flag football, volleyball, basketball, track, golf, badminton, and tennis. Unfortunately, all competitive sports this year was canceled for the 2021 school year, but we are planning to potentially do some intramural league with students if we get in the yellow tier. And our focus would be the older kids so that they get a chance to play and see each other in person. Students will only compete with, like I said, kids from their own community, their own school district. So every city would do their own internal competition. We are really, really looking forward to our middle school kids getting back on our fields, on our courts, and in the track, competing with their friends again next school year. Something new that the NCRL has worked tirelessly during this COVID time on planning is the beginning of an esports league. We are launching our first esports league in May through GG Leagues, which stands for Good Game Leagues. Registration is going to start this month, and we're hoping to get it started in May, sorry. And Rocket Leagues will be focusing on age groups 8 to 14. And its focus is it's more controlled environment for kids when they're competing in esports instead of joining leagues with people they don't know. So it'd be very, very controlled. Junior Giants program, which has about 200 children, a little over 200 children participating in it, plans to resume in person in June this year. As we all know, it was canceled and they did a virtual season last year. Middle school dances were all canceled this year. They're typically held in October and January at the Terra Bay Gym and Recreation Center. We generally get anywhere from 170 to 200 kids that participate in our dances. We are looking forward to getting them back gathering for their middle school dances next year. Our indoor and outdoor facilities, typically many of the schools right now would be planning their field days or their end of the year picnics at many of our parks throughout the city. And some even use our Orange Park pool for swimming at the end of the year. Unfortunately, those are not going to take place most likely this year, but I do have a few schools in the district that have contacted me that are holding certain dates to potentially get their fifth graders together if the county allows. Each year, the school district has their annual Golden Apple ceremony at the Municipal Services Building. We do have a hold this year in May for it. Not sure if it's going to take place, but that's been going on yearly for a very long time. And in previous years, the school district has held quarterly meetings in our council chambers. Finally, the city issues a request for fields and facility use in March of every year. This is something that we just started doing about 3 years ago. So I would submit a request to Laura Gonzalez from the school district every March for the following school year. So I did do that in March for the 21-22 school year. And these requests are district facilities such as South City for our track program, or for the Nutcracker, also some field space for our co-sponsor soccer and youth baseball teams. And that's about it for now. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you for the updates. Do we have any questions? Okay, I think I gave enough of an awkward pause. Thank you. It's very, very, very busy. So that was a lot of information and a lot's going on. And as strange as this year has been, it's exciting to hear everything that you have in motion. So thank you both. All right, I believe this brings us to vaccination update for educators and childcare.
So this was put on the agenda. I think it's for me to give an update. I'm not 100% sure. We didn't put it on, I don't believe. So let me give an update about where we are. So we worked in collaboration throughout our county to have all educators vaccinated. And the first window opened up at the end of February. And what we ended up doing for all of the superintendents in the county was looking at it and trying to set up an equitable process. So we looked at all 23 school districts. We looked at the population of students with whom they serve, and those who are high, free, and reduced would take priority. And then we would go down the list. Then within that, we looked at which are the educators who are most at risk of exposure. So we prioritized those teachers that were teaching in person first, and then we went down the list, and then we just established criteria to get our staff vaccinated. I did at that point, as we were putting our lists together to be able to give to the county to provide vaccines, I reached out to the city to ask if they could give me all of the names of anyone who works in our childcare, before, after school, anywhere with children, if they felt comfortable, to give me their names so that I could put them on our list so that they too would receive prioritization. And the team worked really quickly and got back to me as soon as they could with as much information as they had. And so I was able to put their names on a list. And then I followed up a couple of times just to, if I needed their cell phone number. And part of the reason for that was we were getting new requests. Okay, now we need this. Now we need cell phone numbers. Do we know if they have health insurance? And so the process, was a little challenging at first, just for everyone to understand what we needed to do, who they were going to be receiving emails from. But it went really, really well. And so we in our school district were able to vaccinate so far about 648 of our staff members. Of that, 297 are teachers. And so we're happy about that. We're consistently asking for, encouraging our staff to get the vaccine if they are interested, and sharing as many pathways to doing so with them so that they can get it, and we can start preparing ourselves to welcome our students back. In our district, we did indicate that having the vaccine or getting the vaccine was not a condition of reopening and of bringing students back, because we recognize that there was a need. But it really was a countywide effort led by our county superintendent McGee, and then all of the superintendents of all of the school districts got together, and we worked on this process to prioritize really based on need. And I just want to say thank you, because the city did respond very quickly when I asked for, can you give me the names of anyone who might be interested, if they don't mind us having their contact information, and we'll put them on our list to be prioritized. And many of which had already who found alternate means of getting their vaccines, but there were several that wrote and said, thank you very much. Yes, I got mine. I appreciate you helping. So that was good news. So with that, that's the update for vaccines in South San Francisco Unified. Are there any questions? Sure, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to do exactly what you were doing. Mayor Adiego, it looks like you have a question.
Oop.
You're muted. I'm sorry.
And there, is that better? Is that,
yeah, it's wonderful.
Okay, good. We don't have to read my notes. So, Dr. Moore, I appreciate the total numbers, and it looks like it's definitely going in the right direction. But do you have a percentage of total that have been vaccinated? Is that a number you could share?
I would say, you know what, I can do a quick calculation if you don't
I'll
mind.
bet you can. I'll bet you can calculate quickly. Just
I'd say
around.
we're the 60% for our teachers.
Okay.
Just give me 1 sec. Hold on, Rach.
It's about the same, Dr. Moore. for
Yeah.
classified.
Okay, no, that's good. I appreciate that.
60,
That's-
Mayor Diago, upper 60% for
Upper
classified.
60%, lower 70s.
Yep.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, well, thank you for that update. And I'm seeing no other hands. So I believe this brings us to items from committee, from us. Do we have future items we would love to chat about or connect on, or just updates? Vice Mayor, sorry, yes,
That's
Vice
okay.
Mayor Nogales,
No problem.
apologies.
I know with the last committee, we kind of started having this conversation about looking at maybe talking about or collaborating or just having a conversation about putting a park in Sunshine Gardens. And I would love to kind of have that conversation come back. And so if that's something that this committee would be interested in having a conversation with, I would be interested in doing that.
I see Trustee Murray nodding her head, and for me, I'd certainly be open. I know that topic has come up, and so it's worth engaging in that conversation.
Great. That's all I had.
Okay. Trustee
Thanks for
Murray?
bringing it up, and just thanks for bringing it up, Vice Mayor Nogales. I appreciate it.
Okay, well, it sounds like we shall talk about parks at the next potential parks at Sunshine Gardens and the Sunshine Garden neighborhood next meeting. And I'm not hearing any other items, but I'm sure other items will come as the next meeting comes closer. But for now, thank you all. It was wonderful to see all of you, and I think we can adjourn.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.